Okay, so I think what we're going to do is a bridal look, but something you could probably wear out anyway. And I think I'm going to go for a little bit more coverage. A lot of people go for a very natural look. I think if it were me, I'd want more coverage on my wedding day, especially in front of cameras and the longevity of it as well. It is really nice to have a natural look, but I think you can get that and also have a bit more coverage. So that is what we're aiming for. So I'm just using my micellar water on some cotton pads just to take off any excess makeup before we start. Really important to get it off the eyelids as well because they can be quite oily before we start putting anything else on. Okay. So the first product I'm going to put on is, I'm just going to get a little bit of moisture into her skin just now. And I'm going on with the Embryolisse Le Creme Concentrate. It's a moisturiser and I really, really like it. And I'm going to use my hands to put this on because I really want to push it into the skin. Sorry if my hands are cold. So I'm just taking a little bit, goes a long way with this product as well. Turn towards me. That's it. So I'm just really going to push into the skin. Probably going to avoid around the eye area because I will be wiping that off. Wiping underneath the eye if I've got any fallout from the eyeshadow. It's really just to get into the bulk of the skin just now. And that will help us later on. I'm popping it through the eyebrow here as well. And I'm also going to put it on the neck. Now I'm going to put more moisture into the skin after the eyes, but this is our first step. And it would be good to use your hands for this. And it's important to do the neck as well, especially for a bridal look. Just so that everything is seamless all the way down. The exact same coverage. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is brush up the eyebrow hair a little bit with an angled, this didn't come angled, I just bent it. This is just from Primark, it was £1. So I'm just using a soap brows product, which is basically like a clear soap in a tin. And I'm just working that through her eyebrow hair, just to gently lift the hairs up. So I can see what I'm doing. So you really want to spike them up. And then you can tame them away later. Okay. Next thing we want to do is get a base onto her eyelids. So we're going to go on with a mixture of the P. Louise base in the shades 2 and 3. So 2 is lighter, but we are going to bronze her up a little bit for this. So I'm putting a slightly darker version of it in. I can get it out of the tube. And I'm just using a synthetic brush. This is a Luxe 205 tapered blending brush. And close your eyes for me. I'm literally just patting that all over the lid. And I'm taking it right forward into this inner corner and up towards her eyebrows as well. Doesn't matter if you go into the brows because we're going to tidy them up at the end. And because there's moisturiser in them, they should just that concealer base will just glide into them without any sudden stops or lines. And that's good, that's what we want. We want a seamless blend. And turn towards me, close again. Same on the other side. So right into this inner corner, you get a lot of darkness in there. And then right up and out towards the temple. And look straight forward, close again. And I'm just going to keep buffing it in. So we've got no lines whatsoever and no creasing. So when she opens her eyes, it slightly creases and I don't want that. So I'm going to get her to keep her eyes closed until I've finished the shadow work. And then I'm going to buff out all the edges. And that will blend perfectly later on into her foundation and concealer. If you leave a harsh edge, it will start to set. And then when you try to blend your foundation and concealer into it later, you won't be able to. And just be left with a really harsh line. So I'm just patting, patting, patting until I feel like it's slightly setting underneath my brush. So like a kind of demi-matte finish. And I'm going to get Esther to keep her eyes closed. And I'm going to pick up my first colour of eyeshadow, which is from MAC, and it's called Hawks. And a synthetic brush from Unicorn Cosmetics, I don't know, I think it was part of a set. And I'm going to take quite a lot of this product, tap off the excess, and start on the outer corner. And I'm just blending, blending, blending. And I'm not lifting my brush off the skin. And this is just on the outer corners. And we're slowly going to build that up. And back in again. And I'm not moving my brush off her skin. I'm just going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing it in. Turn towards me. And then same on the other side. I'm just placing it on. And then I'm pushing it right into skin. So at this point, I'm just trying to get the colour right. So I'm trying to get it to look the same colour on her lid as it is in the eyeshadow pan. So now I'm just placing and pulling it down. And I can see the texture of her eyelid slightly changing as the shadow is really grabbing and setting. That's all I'm trying to do just now, is just get that colour right. And I'm just concentrating on the outer edge of the eye. So I'm just patting and pulling now, making sure that both sides are as even as possible in terms of how much eyeshadow I'm putting on. Not about the shape just now, because I'll deal with that later, but just the amount of eyeshadow that's going on. And that I'm leaving the front part bare just now. Just really building up your colour. And you want to check in on both sides. Make sure. The reason I'm using a synthetic brush for this is because the synthetic fibres won't absorb as much product. When you're using a real hair brush, it starts to absorb. And I'm wanting a lot of colour payoff. So this is why I'm using a synthetic brush. I'm just building and building. Okay, open for me and look straight ahead. Okay, good. So I'm going to switch on to a real hair brush. I'll keep that one aside. And this is going to be used alongside a blusher from MAC. This blusher is called Blush Baby. It's like a muted pink. And I'm going on with a C433 crown brush, which is real hair. Close for me. And I'm just starting to slowly, gently buff the edges of the shadow with this pink. I'm not really looking for a specific shape just now. I'm just wanting to soften everything out. So I'm using this pink. The reason I'm using a blusher is because it's not as pigmented. It's a lot softer, so it's ideal for blending out these edges and not adding too much pigment. I'm going back with the brush I had. And I'm just working through that crease. Okay, open for me. Good. And turn your head towards me. Same on the other side. So I'm actually holding my brush at an upwards angle as well, so I don't go too far away in terms of the space that I have here. So I'm just working those edges with the blush. That's all I'm doing just now. And then I'm going back in with the first shade, just in case I've lost any of that pigment. Blending that out. I don't want there to be a line where the first shade stops and the second shade starts. Okay, open for me. Good, and then just look straight ahead. That's it. Perfect. Good. Then look down for me. And all I'm doing is taking that pink further forward and gently buffing the edges of the dark. So I'm getting as soft as possible, no harsh edges. And I'm slowly building that pink up. And then back in with the first colour. Make sure it's not too diluted. And I'm just pulling it backwards. Okay, look straight ahead for me. Good. Now I'll keep hold of those brushes and I'm just going to pop a very pale shade onto the front part of her eye. And this is from MAC and it's called Naked Lunch. Close for me. And all I'm doing is popping that into that little area that we left. This is a real hair brush. It's from Pro Brush. It's a P8. So I'm wanting a really nice, slightly shimmery shade on this first part of the eye. And it's just overlapping slightly onto the shade next to it. Because they shouldn't just suddenly stop. These two shades are really popular for weddings, the Hawks and Naked Lunch. people tend to go for a muted pink or bronze shades. So we don't want there to be a sudden stop. So I'm just using the first brush to make sure that these shades are blended together. I'm just pulling my brush back and forth. I'm going to take this darker shade forward a little bit here, just right under the eyebrow, same as the other side. So check in with both sides, making sure that you're on the same page. So pick up a little bit more of the first shade and start to deepen just this first part here. Pull it forward a little bit. And then I've got my pink. And I'm using that just to blend it out. Open for me. Good. I just wanted that nice muted pink, a dark shade, a lighter shade, and then our shimmering shade. So I want to add a little bit of glitter. You hold that for me like that. So instead of a standard base, I'm going to use a cream blush from Stila called Lilium. I'm just going to pat that with my ring finger. Close for me. And where I want that glitter to go is just joining the very front shade and the middle shade together. I'm keeping it pink, I don't want it to be your standard glitter primers. So this has got a lovely pink tone to it. And then I'm going to pick up some glitter and I'm just going to randomly pat it on. And there's going to be no structure to this. Just wherever I want it to go. And it'll just stick to the cream blush. Okay, open for me. Good. So something a little bit different for a bridal look. But not everybody wants a plain look. So look down for me. Good. So I didn't want any structure to that, I just wanted it exactly what it is. So look down for me. And then I'm just very lightly pressing. I don't want to lose any glitter, I just want to make sure that it's there. And it's just going wherever it wants, there's not going to be any structure. It's not a cut crease or anything like that. So we need to get some eyeliner on now so that there's a lovely band for the lashes to stick onto. And we are going to use a flat brush from MAC and a black eyeshadow. And I think the black shadow is going to be from the Urban Bible palette from Sosu. Sorry, love. And it's called Sin. Okay, so I'm just picking that up on a little flat brush. Turn your head towards me, close for me. And I'm going right in at the lash line. And I'm just very gently making a smoky black line. And I'm making it slightly thicker on the outer edge. And I've purposely not put my glitter too far down because it's a nightmare when you've got glitter and you're trying to put a liner on. So we're very gently and very slowly building up this black shadowy line. Open for me. Good. Close again. So just work in small motions and then lift the brow up so you can get right into the lash line, and then just slowly take it higher and higher out towards the outer corner. And it's just a pressing it on. Same on the other side. So slightly higher on this outer edge. And right in at the lash line. And just slowly build up the colour. Be careful on the glitter. And just let your brush do a lot of the work. Just very, very, very small movements. Almost like wiggling the brush. Open for me. Good. And then I want you to look down for me. So, and if you can't get into the front, to look down. Straight ahead again. Good. Okay, look straight ahead. Good. So then we want to blend out that little edge that we have with the black. So get yourself a really small brush, maybe 2 small brushes. This is a Morphe E36 and this is a Crown C528. Now close for me, huh? So I'm very lightly pulling some of this black downwards, taking my excess off, and then I'm very lightly buffing the edges so that it joins into that pink without a stop and a start. Good. Turn towards me. Same on the other side. You're almost like patting and pulling from the outside downwards. And then when you get to your outer edge, very lightly take some of your excess off because black really does cling. And just make sure that it's really, really going in. Take that brush, go over the very top edge of your liner to remove any harsh edges. Everything to be very, very soft, including the black. Okay, open for me. Good. So we're going to wipe away all of this excess and glitter. I'll take that for a second. So I want you to look up for me. I'm just using a wipe to make sure I get every single fleck of black away, because I do not want to see that again. to really, really, really clean it up under here. So make sure you've got a fragrance-free, gentle wipe. Try and get as much of the glitter off as you can. Towards me and then look up. Black is difficult, but you want to get rid of it at this stage, not further down the line when it's stuck in your concealer. Look straight on. And look up again. You can just use your wipe to clean up. And then later on we'll use our concealer for that. Okay, just look straight ahead for me. So we're going to get some lashes on, and I've actually customized some lashes for Esther. So I took some Ardell's and I put some individuals on top of them, and then I actually put some little Ardell edges on them as well. So I'm going to load them up, put them over here, with some Doll Beauty glue. And I've really put the extra on the outer corners because I want everything to be lifted up and out. That's why the front of her eye makeup is brighter and paler, and then the outer edges are darker. So it's easy to customize them if you feel like they're not enough. And I put matte black liner on them as well to get rid of all the white glue marks that were there. So I'm going to leave them there to get tacky. I'm going to put a bit more moisture into her skin. So I'm actually going in with some Ordinary high adherence silicone primer, and this is going to blur out her skin, but just use very, very, very small amounts on any areas where there are open pores or texture. You really have to work it in, otherwise when you come to put your foundation on, it will just slide because it's got silicone in it. But it's really good at blurring. You just have to work it in now before we add in anything else. So I'm just putting it in the T-zone. And I'm using my fingers so that the heat from my fingers really pushes it into the pores. And a little bit on our forehead as well. Just right here. This is only maybe £5 a tube. And it's from the Ordinary. So I'm taking my time with it. Getting that right in. Seeing some glitter. It's okay. Then I'm using a gloss. This is an Infinity Glass gloss from Linda Hallberg. And I'm popping this on the areas that I really want to highlight. So the areas where the light naturally catches the face. And this is a gloss. You can use it on eyelids, lips, and skin. And then later on, as the makeup wears, these little glossy areas will pop out a little bit more. We can afford to put as much moisturiser on as we want because I probably will use a fuller coverage foundation and concealer. And if you had very dry skin, you could pop on an eye cream as well, or an eye gel. A little bit here, turn towards me. So getting that skin nice and glossy, straight ahead. I'm going to pop these lashes on with some tweezers. Pick up from the middle, look down for me, and just come in from a height. Straight on for me. Good. So filling out the outer edges has made a huge difference. Look down for me. Because it's giving her that cat look. Down again. So once you've got them in place, just need to fiddle about till you get them on. And you can lift them and move them. Look straight ahead from me. Good. So you can see how they're thicker at the outsides, so everything's just getting lifted right up. That's why we put the darker edges here, focus the light in here so everything would get lifted up. Okay, look down for me again. I'm just going to lift that one off a little bit. Place it a little further down. Look straight ahead. Okay, good. So we're going to pop some mascara on just now to lift her own lashes right into the false lashes. So I'm just going on with some Collection Lash Surge mascara in black. And my little fan brush, I think it's from Morphe. I don't know what number it is. It's completely rubbed off. Can you hold that from there? Okay, look down at your lap for me. So I'm just going to lift up her lids and I'm going to pop mascara. Really make sure that I push her lashes into the false lashes. So take your time, give her plenty breaks. You really need to get right into the root. Look straight ahead. Good. So everything is very, very lifted right now. And I have like little cat eyes. So clean up again. And make sure we don't have any black or glitter. You're going to see a few little flecks now and again, but that's okay. Go straight ahead. Good. Down again. Just keep checking in with your lashes. You can adjust them later. So for foundation, we are going to use a little mixing table. NARS Luminous in the shade Stromboli. A very, very lightweight. It's very watery. So just a little bit of that. And I'm going to try my new Huda Beauty faux filter in the shade Latte. So this is going to start giving us a really full coverage finish. And then I'm going to pop in some highlighter drops from Revolution in the shade Liquid Euphoric Gold. Just to loosen it up a little bit. And a little bit of something else. Bourjois Healthy Mix, which is my favourite, in the shade 56. So a little bit of that. But the dominant foundation is definitely the faux filter from Huda Beauty. So I'm just mixing all of that up. And I'm going to pick up brush from Zoeva. This is a 128 cream cheek brush. It's a fanned brush. So I'm just going to start picking small amounts of this, and I'm just going to start dabbing it onto the skin. So I'm not moving the brush, I'm just tapping it on. So I'm just going lighter with my brush around the hairline, and then I can actually use my little sponge to push into the hairline so I don't put too much product in there. If your bride was wearing her hair up, make sure that you get round her ears and round the back of her ears so that there's no difference in texture or colour. We do have a lot of moisture on her skin, but we're going to be using a lot of product. I'm going to be using a lot of powder as well, so this look might not work for someone with very dry skin, but I would be adapting it depending on my client. So I'm just tapping this on before I go in with my sponge. You can get it on the lips as well, it'll be a really good base for a lipstick later on. It's just a tapping motion just now. And I'm not going right into the hairline, I'm going to use my sponge for that. And then just very cautious around the brows. And if you've buffed out around the edges of your eyeshadow, there won't be any problems. I'll just glide in. Not too much product around here, between the nose. Just always just picking up small amounts off my hand. And be careful around this hairline, especially with blondes. And I'm just gently patting it down. And I'm going to go in with my sponge. Then what I have left, chin up for me, I'm going to buff it into her neck. Now we'll put a little bit of moisturiser in there earlier on, so that'll be a good base, so that everything is the same texture and colour all the way down. And the last bits. Okay, just extra. Then I'm taking my little damp sponge. This is from Real Techniques, my absolute favourite sponges, and I'm buffing that in, and I'm buffing the excess into the hairline, so I'm not getting too much product in there. So even though it's a full coverage product, you still want to buff it into the skin. Make sure your blender is damp. And just take your time. If you want to add a little bit more, you can. Just take it on your sponge. Make sure it's really even, especially in the centre part of the face. This is where all the focus is on. And we'll move around to the other side. Sponges are really good for getting into all these areas. And then just going lighter on your hairline. And then just blending those edges of the eyeshadow so there's no lines. And then patting the rest into place. Now this is going to be a fuller coverage look, so we're really going to go in a bit more with our concealers so that it's a flawless look. And if you think about your wedding, it's a very, very, very long day. You cannot just put full coverage straight onto a dry skin and expect it not to crack or start to go patchy. I'm just really taking my time, pushing it in. And then we're going to move on to concealer. Good. So for concealer, we're going to use two. And the first one we're going to go in with, they're both from NARS. The first one is going to be the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer in the shade Custard. And I'm going to use two brushes for this. Use a flat brush and then a little synthetic brush if I can find one. Fluffy one. Here. So, getting this on the back of my hand. Take a while. And the brush that I'm using, first of all, is from P. Louise. I think it's just the brush that I think she's just got one for putting on her base. Now look up for me. And I'm taking this right up to the lash line. Now this is a creamy concealer, it's hydrating. So we're going to go in afterwards with a matte concealer. And it's from NARS. So I'm taking this right into the inner corner and down the side of the nose. And this is where I start to lighten everything up. And this is your highlighted area. And I'm taking it right out to the temple. Down here. And I'm sort of feathering it out when I get down here because it's going to go into the cream contour. And I'm taking this fluffy brush and I'm making sure it's nice and soft around the edges of the eyeshadow. And then I'm patting it in. Okay, it's one side. Look straight ahead. So you can see it's just much cleaner and softer. It's not too far away in colour from her foundation. Turn towards me and look up again. And again, we're going right up to the lash line and then right into this inner corner as well. So you can kind of almost clean up. But if you get any black eyeshadow fallout at this stage, you can clean it, but not once you've powdered. Once you've powdered, that's the end. So make sure there's no black, no fallout. And take it right out to the temple and down the side of the nose. Look straight ahead for me. And then I'm taking this brush, just a soft one, and I'm just softening the edges of her eyeshadow to make sure I don't want any harsh lines for this look. Turn your head that way. So you can see from the side there's absolutely no joins between the base that we put on and the foundation. Straight ahead again. And I'm just lightly feathering that out. So the excess I have left, I'm going to pop a little bit here and here, and just use my little brush. And this brush is from Blank Canvas, and it's an E13 synthetic brush. So I'm just tapping this on. And popping a little bit here, just in the centre of the forehead, and tapping it in again. Now, I'm going to go in with another concealer, again from NARS, and it's a matte concealer, and this is called Soft Matte Complete Concealer, and the shade again is Custard, which is exactly what we've just put on. And I'm going to use my little damp sponge for this. I'm taking quite a bit of it, look up for me. And I'm going right over the top of what we did. So this is just a matte, and again I didn't want to put it straight on, so I've used the creamy concealer first, and now I'm using the matte one. So I want a very, very smooth under eye for this look, and a fuller coverage. Turn towards me, and then look up again. And I'm just putting it straight on top of the creamy concealer. And making sure I just push it right into the skin. And look straight ahead. We'll come back after the contour and we'll go over it again with a sponge, just to make sure that there is no creasing before we set it with any powder. And this will allow it just to sit on the skin for a little while we do the cream contour. And just start to settle in. So this is a fuller coverage look that will last a couple of days. So, I want to go on with our cream contour now. And I'm going to need a brush. And I'm actually going to use a foundation stick, I think, from Revolution. And I'm going to use a contour stick called Ibiza. It's a lip to cheek dewy colour pop from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm going to use both of these. So the first one is shade F14, very dark, and I'm actually just going to pop it on with my fingers. So just warm it up. The point you want to be taking it from, turn towards me, is the top of the ear. So I'm literally just going to take it like this. Same on the other side. I'm just using my finger because the heat from my finger will help this. Okay, look straight ahead. And I want to take some of it around the hairline. Straight ahead. And along the jaw. This is a foundation stick, so she'll get a lot of coverage from this as well. Just using my fingers because they're nice and warm. And I'm going to let that sit for a wee minute. Whatever's left, I'm going to pop it on the end of her nose. Okay. And then I'm going on with the Charlotte Tilbury Beach Stick with my fingers again. Just cleaned that off. This is like a really gold, and I'm popping that over the top of what I've just done. This is a lot looser, so it will help to loosen up that foundation stick and give it a bit more of a golden glow. Don't be afraid to use your hands, the warmth is really, really good. Straight ahead. And then what's left, just going to pop on the end of the nose. So we're going to use 2 applicators to clean this up. We are going to use a Morphe E8 brush and our little blender. So this is the Morphe E8. And I'm just going to start buffing it into her skin. I don't want to come any lower with her contour though than I am, because then it'll be below her cheekbone and then there wouldn't have been any point in contouring. So I'm at a very light pressure. And I'm kind of buffing upwards. And you can take any excess off. You don't really get a lot of excess from this brush. And then we're starting to buff this in towards the hairline. So this is just a cream base before you pop your powders on. So don't be too scared of it. You can see how it's sculpting her face already. So just buffing up from the line, but you don't want that line to completely disappear, otherwise there is no point to what you've done. So just sort of buffing it into the skin and out towards the hairline. These kind of temple areas are really important because they pull the face in. Okay. Same on the other side, and I don't want to lose the contour completely, I'm just softening it. So literally just buffing upwards from the line that we put in. Remember, you just have purely cream bases on just now, so you can just work with them. And you can buff them in together. And just really take your time. So the mixture of the gold from the Charlotte Tilbury and the kind of cool tone of the Revolution stick just creates a really nice blend. I don't want to get rid of it completely. Turn towards me. So I'm just very carefully working at it. Straight out. On the edge of the nose. Blend that in. And the jawline. And I'm going to work it upwards towards the bottom of her ear as well. If you have any excess, pull it downwards. all you're trying to do is create some shadows. I'm just going to buff this area a little bit more, and then I'm going in with my sponge. So the excess from the foundation will just soften it out again. I do not want to lose the shape of the contour. I just want to soften it. So everything softens out. And gets pushed right into the skin. So I'm going to pick up my NARS concealer again, the matte one. Cut for me, huh? And I'm just gently going over this area one more time before I set it. And the powder I'm going to set it with is from Hourglass, and it's Veil Translucent Setting Powder. And this is brand new. Now, I broke my nail the last time I did this. So I'm going to be careful. So this powder is diamond infused, apparently. So very light reflective. And the brush I want to use with it is from Peaches, and it's a PC15 brush. So take my sponge with me again one more time, and then look up, honey, and just double, triple check. So keep looking up for me, that there's going to be no creasing before I pop this on. So I'm using a nice generous amount of this, the same way that I had a nice generous amount of concealer. Turn towards me. So I'm not leaving it to bake. I'm literally just patting it all on. And look straight ahead for me. And then I'm going to pop this onto the oily areas. So around the T-zone especially. Smile lines and the chin. Okay, so now we're ready for bronzer. But before we do that, I want to literally sculpt out underneath her contour a nice line. And I'm going to leave that powder on while I do our bronzer. And it's going to be a barrier so that my bronzer doesn't come down any further than I want it to. This little powder will just stop it. So I'm just leaving it quite thick until I've done our bronzer, and then I'm going to swipe it away. And for the bronzer, I am going to use a brush from Peaches and Cream called PC03. And the first bronzer I'm going on with is Give Me Sun from MAC. And I'm using this very lightweight brush. And I'm just slowly building up the coverage and colour of this bronzer. It's a mineralise bronzer. So all the areas that we did the cream contour, that's what I'm focused on just now. And because it's a really, really lightweight brush, it won't drag the skin in any way. So right over the contoured area. And the temples. And the end of the nose. And the forehead. So we're just building up this colour now. It will look quite harsh just now, but we'll soften it all out. And I'm popping a little bit down her neck as well. Okay, so I'm going to switch up to another bronzer, another MAC one. And this time we're going to go in with Dark Deepest, but I'm only popping this on the first part of her contour here. This is the area I want to be the darkest. And the same up here, just that high point and just that first part. So just the first part and the high point up here. Okay. Now I'm going to keep this brush for her blush, and the blush I'm going to go in with is maybe the Milani one, or the first one that we used. I'm going to use a little palette from Nip and Fab 2. This is a blusher palette, so we're going to stick with the pinks, okay? So mainly this dark pink and this light pink here. And I'm just popping this on right in the centre. I like it on the end of the nose and a little bit in the chin as well. And then we're going to take another couple of brushes and some Hourglass powder called Diffused Light. And this brush is a PC04. I don't know if it's fluffy enough though to go for something lighter. I want a really, really, really fluffy light brush. So I'm using this to soften out her contour. And it's a very, very, very lightweight brush. Just soften everything that we've done, but not adding too much coverage. Just a really, really, really soft powder. Hourglass powders and bronzers are absolutely beautiful. I'm softening up here too. Making sure that everything is super, super blended. It doesn't always look that way at first, but Get there in the end. Okay, we're going to pop some skin mist on and give the skin some hydration. This is from Farsali and it's a rose gold skin mist. So there's tiny little gold flecks in it. So close your eyes for me, huh? And make sure we put plenty of this on. Open for me. Before we highlight. Got a little fan. Close your eyes for me. And this takes the skin down a little bit as well. Helps to blend everything together. So I'm going in with the Doll highlighter. And Shine Bright it's called. And this is a PC17. And it's a peaches brush. And I'm literally going to focus on the areas that the light hits. And the Cupid's bow. The tops of the brow. Very end of the nose. And the edge of the nose as well. I'm trying to make her look like a doll. And you can go back over it with your bronzer brush or any other brush just to soften it in so it doesn't look like it's just sitting on top of the skin. Looks like it's really, really in there. So I'm going to use a little MAC 221 brush. I'm going to take the same highlighter. Look down for me. And I'm literally just going to highlight the inner corner of the eye. So I'm just going in here, if you can see. Just to make that really pop. You can bring it up a little bit so that it's all blending in. Straight on for it. Good. Now I'm going to use a blusher to buff out the edges of our eyeshadow. I'm not going to leave them like this. And I'm using a Morphe M441 brush. I'm going to pick up that blusher. Look straight ahead for me, and then look down. And I'm literally just slowly pulling the eyeshadow out a little bit. Look straight ahead for me. Just softening it completely. I'm trying not to lose. Look down for me. Any of the structure or any of the pigment from the eyeshadow. So just up and out basically. I'm not dragging it too far away because it's not that kind of look. It's not a fashiony look, it's meant to be a kind of romantic bridal look. Something really nice and soft. Down again for me. Look straight on. So everything's just softening really nicely now. And I'm going in with my very first brush, I think this is, that we used from Unicorn. Look down for me. And I'm just making sure that I haven't lost pigment on that first eyeshadow. Down towards me. So I'm just using the excess that I have on it. Look straight ahead. And then we're ready for the under eye. I'm not doing anything really heavy under the eye. I need to try and keep it nice and soft. So we'll take the two shadows that we had before, and I think I'm going to use a little smudging brush from Charlotte Tilbury, if I can find it. And I need a little puff. So just a small amount, I think, underneath here of the first one. Look up from here. Which is called Hawks. And it's from MAC. And I'm just rubbing this back and forth along the lash line to build up the colour. This is the eye smudger brush from Charlotte Tilbury. So just back and forth. And I'm just wanting a very light wash of colour under it here. I'm not wanting anything too crazy. Okay. Turn towards me and then up again. Same on the other side. So just back and forth. Do a little smudgy brush. Building up some colour. Straight ahead. Okay. Then I want another small brush. And look up again from here. Can make this a little bit thicker on this side. Straight on. And then a little bit of the Naked Lunch, which was the kind of shimmering one. Look up. And that's literally just to kind of blend the edges and tone them down a little bit. Straight on. Good. Now, I need some more glue. So just look down for me, huh? So just check in with your lashes, make sure they are stuck down. I don't think this one would go anywhere, but I just want to make sure 100% that it's not. So a bit of a battle sometimes with the lashes. But it's worth it just to make sure they don't move. Straight on from here. And then down one more time. So we're going to do a bit of a nose contour next. Just while this is sticking down. I'm actually going to take a MAC powder. This is Studio Fix NC25. And it's just out the box. And the Give Me Sun, which we were using earlier. And a nice fluffy brush. This is a Zoeva 22 something Luxe Crease. And that's the NC25 here. And the Give Me Sun. So I'm mixing the Give Me Sun with the NC25 just to take it down a bit. Turn towards me and look down. And I'm just taking it from the front of her brow, building it up in that area, and then I'm going to move down. So Give Me Sun, NC25, and just slowly working down the nose, just in small sections. And I'm diluting the powders because I don't want a really, really, really strong nose contour on a wedding day. And that's kind of just joining in with what we did earlier. So a little Give Me Sun, a little Studio Fix, build it up at the front. And then we can move down. And just do it really slowly in small sections. So that you don't end up with a crazy... Some people do prefer it to be a bit stronger, but I think it's nice to be softer. Okay, look straight on for me. And just sort of check in with it. Make sure that the lines are straight for one. And that you're happy with it. And then you can take another fluffy brush. Take some of your NC25 and just buff through the centre. Good. Good. So I'm going to pop a little bit of that NC25 under the eyes. And as I said, you're going to pull that rug for me. This is a very strong powder. Look up for my hand. So not for anyone that has really dry skin, but it does give you that extra coverage, especially on your big day. So we just need to go through the brows, and we're going to use a product from Maybelline in a medium brown, and this is the Brow Precise Fibre Fillers. So we're using these to just brush through the brows. And they do have tiny fibres on them, so they grab onto the hair that's already there. I use these a lot. I'm not going to give her mental brows for getting married. But you do want to look groomed. So this would probably be enough. And a little bit of powder to set them in place. And it just darkens them again. And fluffs them up. Be gentle with this product. It can be quite cloggy. That's the word. And just gently pull it through. There's a dark brown version of this as well, and I'm sure there are alternative fibre products too. I just really like this one. I've been working with it for a long time now. Good. So do the lips, and we're going to go on with a lip liner from Peaches and Cream called Borderline. So turn towards me. I'm just using my little Kiko sponge to make sure I don't lean on her skin. I'm just going really gently, in really small sections, building up this liner. And it's kind of like a muted colour. It's not going to be too pink. I'm going to take a slightly, turn towards me, pinker lip cream. But I want the lip liner itself to be very neutral. And just gently pull your lip liner. And you can afford to go a little bit lower here. And then I'm leaving the Cupid's bow out because I've popped that highlighter there. I don't want to lose that. So I'm avoiding the Cupid's bow. I'm just going up towards it. And just keep working it. You can start to drag it in as well into the lips a bit more. It'll help you blend out whatever you pop on. And just look straight ahead for me. So we'll take a slightly pinkier lip cream from the Anastasia palette and we'll mix it with some nice gloss. And the gloss we're going for is called Back Chat from Peaches and Cream. And I've got a nice lip brush in here from my Kitco. And the colour that we're using is this nice kind of pinky toned from the top. So I'm taking it out of the palette. I'm not going to add anything else in. I'm popping this gloss on, but then I'm going to go over probably with something that has a bit of shimmer as well. We'll see how we go. So this is like a muted pink gloss. I'm just using the back of my tweezers to mix them together. Lip creams can be quite tough to work in, so if you just pop a little gloss in, it just loosens everything up. And this is my Kitco My Full Pout brush. So I'm picking this up. So, smile at that a little bit. And just very slowly popping this on. I'm trying to kind of blend it into the lip liner as well. So this brush does a lot of work for you. And open it for me a little bit. That's it. And then you want to really pat and push that lip product into the lips. Okay, look straight on for me. We're going to go over the top with a kind of slightly shimmery lip gloss. It's actually from Primark. Picked it up at the weekend. And it's called Golden Sands. I'm going to pop that on just now. £1.50. And see how we go. If I can open it. You're stronger than me. I should open my products first. So this has got a sort of golden shimmer, so it might take the colour down a little bit. So we'll have a look at it. So I'm just popping it onto the back of my hand. And then I want to use another Peaches and Cream brush. Should be here. That's it. And this. So this is the Golden Sands. Turn towards me. And this is a gloss. and it's just kind of slightly muting the lipstick that we put on. And then we want to pat it in, like straight on. Then you want to use a clean Peaches brush. This is a PC14, but keep your little first one free. Don't put makeup on you. Yeah, just smile a little bit like that. And I'm using this brush, this is clean, to just gently push product into the lip. And I want to get rid of that kind of gloss finish. Not completely, but taking away any harsh lines with a nice clean brush. So you kind of place the brush and then pull the product down. And then you can take your one of your very first brushes. Your little one from here. And if you've overlined, made any mistakes, you just pick up your angled flat brush and a little bit of the foundation you've got left. And just gently push that down. So what I'm wanting is a really soft, glossy finish. Open for me a little bit, a bit more. Close. And I just want to pat that in. I just want everything about this look to be really, really soft. Close again. Good. So I want some mascara, if I can find it, on the bottom lashes. And I want to have one more little look to see how we are. So just in with my collection mascara. I need my little puff. So I'll look up from here. Keep looking up. Keep looking up. Always make sure that you tap the edges so that any clogged mascara doesn't sit straight onto your concealer. I'm just using a brush for the bottom lashes so that they're super separated instead of my other one. And if you do get any mascara, which is inevitable, just let it dry first, and then we'll get it with a dry cotton bud. Look straight ahead for me. Good. And up again. So let that mascara dry down before you touch anything. Don't try and rub it off when it's wet. And don't use a wet cotton bud either. So just let that dry down a little bit. And then at that point you just want to check in with everything that you've done. Clean yourself up. And make sure everything's looking good. Any little last minute so everything should be really soft. It's already starting to sink into the skin a bit more. It can look quite placed sometimes, and it's only after a little bit of time, a little bit of heat, that it starts to soften up. So I'm just going to use my little cotton bud and clean up any little mascara mistakes. Cover my hand. So make sure it's dried down, and then just roll it in. Same on the other side. Cover me. Oh, someone needs their dinner. So just back and forth with your clean cotton bud. Nice and dry. Look up again. Just double check everything's okay. And look down one more time for me. I think that's us. Just a small amount of highlighter. Just here. And it's just the dull Shine Bright highlighter I'm using. Popping any into any areas that you think you might have lost it. I do have OCD. So just make sure everything's placed in perfectly. And I would say that is a Glam pink bridal look done. Come up and have a little look and see what you think of it up close. Come up. You can take pictures and you can whatever, you know the drill.